Okay, I think we'll start kicking off today's session. Hi, we're a little late today. Apologies, that was my fault. Welcome to this Friday Chu and Chat, brought to you from the Mansion House, due to the fact that we can't have any events in the Mansion House. So we're trying to reach out to people as best as we can. And as with all things, it's gone on Zoom, unfortunately. So this week we're going to be talking about sports and the importance of sports. So I'm delighted to have Darragh Macauley, our sports engagement manager in our Northeast Inner City area. And then we have Aideen O'Connor, who is our program and services development manager at Dublin City Council. So we thank you both for coming. Hi, Aideen. Hi, Michael.
Hi, guys.
Hi. So as per usual, if you want to ask a question, down at the bottom, there's a Q&A box, and you just put in your question and I will aim to read them out to our guests. And any questions that we don't get around to answering, please email them in to lordmayor@dublincity.ie, and we will try to get them answered for you. Again, bottom of the Zoom, you'll find Q&A. Just type in your questions there. This session is being recorded, so your name won't be read out. Your full name won't be read out in the question, only your first name as well, and no one will be identified fully. So. Okay, so we will kick off with Michael first. Michael, give us a bit about yourself, what you do, where you came from, what you do currently with the council. Just a bit about yourself.
Hi, Lord Mayor. Thanks for having us. So I am working with the Northeast Inner City Initiative. So I suppose maybe if people aren't kind of aware of it, it was set up kind of the back end of 2016, and is focused on the kind of general Dublin 1 area there. So I've kind of come in under kind of sports engagement. So I suppose that's quite wide ranging, and there's a whole lot going on in the area. But I suppose it's come in to kind of supplement what is going on in there in terms of sports and community events. So I suppose my background, I would have had a bit of a background in Gaelic football at some stage, and I also can teach a bit of yoga, and I also would have been a very keen and still am basketball player. So that would be my own kind of personal interest in sports, but would have a wide range in all sports, and I suppose we're trying to provide that in the general kind of Northeast Inner City community. Yeah.
Unmute. Thank you, Michael. Aideen, a bit about you.
Oh yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm Aideen O'Connor. I'm the Programs and Services Manager for the Dublin City Sports Partnership. I've probably been working in this role now for the last few years, but before that I would have been the manager of Markovich and Irish Town centres in DCC. And I love sports. My background growing up was always playing every kind of sport there was. Currently I'm a member of Clonliffe Harriers, and I'm a marathon runner, so I enjoy marathon running, and I kind of keep myself active in that way. In terms of the sports partnership, we are literally just all about getting people to be physically active, people of all ages, all abilities, and creating those opportunities for them. Obviously, during the COVID challenge, we faced a lot of challenges in terms of how we would deliver, because our normal way of delivering is in the community, face-to-face engagement, interacting with people and making sure that we're trying to service their needs in terms of physical activity, health and well-being. So we had to adapt our way of our delivery. And we managed to do it as best as we could. A lot of people took their programs online. It was the thing to do at the time. I think it was a novelty for people as well, signing up to virtual challenges and online classes. So we did well in that. We had our Couch to 5K, our Couch to 3K programs. We did a lot of online classes for our older adults. We set up our virtual hub as well for Change for Life programs. So we adapted, but really, I suppose we were just talking before the call there, myself and Michael, and we're just saying we just can't wait to get back out there and do what we do best, which is the delivery of our programs. There's going to be obviously a specific focus on the outdoors for the next foreseeable, few months. So yeah, we're excited to get back out there.
Great, and I think a lot of people are excited to be back out there once they are able to. Michael, tell me how things are working down in Northeast Inner City, and what are the challenges that you're facing, and what do you think? Well, of course, with COVID. So, but in general, what do you think we can do better, and what do you think is really working well at the moment?
Hey, sorry. Yeah. So I think, look, there's a load going on. There's a load of opportunities, kind of being created, and that's the whole kind of essence of it. Like, you can only bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. In terms of, we just want to provide as many activities, as many opportunities for these kids, for these parents, for these older adults, to get engaged in, and that's what we're doing. Look, in terms of, we all know the challenges over the last while. We kind of did the virtual thing with bits and pieces, and LinkedIn with the citywide Wellbeing hub as well. And so I think and they all stood their course and did what they were supposed to do. But I think everyone wants to get out there now and kind of deliver kind of practical activities. So in terms of challenges, I suppose, look, a big thing for us is it is a concrete jungle that we're working in. So we don't have a lot of kind of green space. So look, a big Gaelic football field would go down amazingly in the area, but it's just not going to fit, unfortunately, at the moment. It doesn't look like. So we have to make best of what you can do. So Fairview Park isn't a million miles away, and we're trying to kind of get people up there for different bits. But there's loads going on, absolutely loads going on in terms of like soccer and boxing would be kind of ones that would be huge in the area. There's a number of different clubs. But I suppose we're kind of trying to have a kind of holistic look at kind of where the kids. Not every kid wants to be a soccer player. Not every kid wants to be a boxer. So, there's loads. We've a kind of huge kind of basketball program going on, and that's actually working on at the moment. We're actually just doing a co-funded officer with Basketball Ireland, so that's going to be an exciting prospect, just to have someone full-time in the area just working on basketball. There's rugby officers, there's cricket officers, there's all sorts. So I suppose it's that thing of just kind of listening to what's out there and what the need is, and kind of providing with that. In terms of what was going over the last number of months, I suppose it was quiet. Some of the kind of more exciting programs maybe that we had was that we had Xwell Medical we have down in the area, which is able to run because it has medical dispensation, but that is a special program that just works with people with chronic illnesses. So that's people with heart issues, lung issues, missing a leg, all sorts, and bring them in with a kind of specific doctor-led program. So that under Dr. Noel McCaffrey, that's a really interesting one that we've had over the last while. And another, my little baby at the moment is a yoga teacher training program. So this isn't just, I'm big into the yoga, and
so you teach people to be instructors.
Exactly, yeah. So I would hire some teachers in the area. I'd also teach a few classes myself, to different ones. And I remember I was just talking to a girl after class one day, and she was saying that it turns out she was big into the yoga herself. I didn't even cop it, and I was like, geez, it'd be great if this girl was now teaching the class instead of me coming in and teaching the class. Like, that's how you get that kind of cyclical effect. So anyway, we're looking at trying to see how that could happen, and then we kind of just thought bigger picture and said, look, let's set up our own teacher training academy. So that's what we did. Now there's a lot of kind of hard work went in over the last 6 weeks, but it actually just launched just there last weekend. And just with restrictions allowed, we had 15 on it. We could have filled that 4 times over, and it's fully funded by the Northeast Inner City. So we have 15 people from the community who have kind of set out on like an 11-month program, to become yoga teachers and to give back to the community. So that's a really exciting one that we have going on. That's
brilliant, because these are the type of things you don't hear about in this. Well, you hear if you're in that community, but it's some of the amazing work that yourselves do that you don't really know that's happening. So 11 months, and you'll actually have yoga teachers out of them then.
Yeah, these are 15 people that'll have a 200-hour qualification. They can teach anywhere in the world. And I suppose these would have had written and phone interviews with these people. And I suppose they were picked because they were from the area, but they had a special interest in the area. So I mean, look, even if they never teach a class in their lives, they'll have the skills for themselves. Is always a worthwhile thing. But they're interested in the community and they want to give back. So Yeah, so I suppose look, that was a kind of very interesting one which we have, and then we're doing that with Reformation Studios. Have come in to help us out with that one, and it's been based right in the heart of it in D-Light Studios. So yeah, that's just a kind of taster of some of the bits that are going on. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Thank you. So, Aideen, Michael touched on that there in terms of kids and not everyone wants to be a football player, but the point about kids made me realize that yesterday we had the Lord Mayor Youth Awards, and a lot of the kids talked about mental health and the difficulties in the last year, especially in COVID. When you look at kind of program and services in as the program or service manager, like what in terms of kids and the programs for kids and adults as well that we are looking at for the next year that will be rolled out by DCC, and what do you think the challenges have been so far?
Yeah, I think like we work with a lot of, as they're called, target groups, but really it's everyone now. Everyone needs to be engaged with. And I definitely think that we'll be taking a more holistic approach to the delivery, particularly around the children. We do a fantastic program called Marathon Kids, and it's in partnership with the other Dublin local authorities, and it's through the schools that we do it, whereby the children sign up to do a marathon, but they do the mile. They graduate each week and they do their mile, and it's an 8-week program, and where they'd come together at the end of the 8 weeks, where they run the final mile in Santry Stadium. So we're hopeful that would still go ahead. Like, it looks positive enough that come September, that we will be able to be back doing some of our large scale events that we would have. But we've loads of initiatives and programs through our co-funded officers, our own sports officers doing after school programs as well. And I think that there will be a big push for, that younger age group, like the 4, the 5, the 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, because that's where we need to get them early. But I think it's important to make sure that, like as Michael Darragh said, the focus shouldn't be on the actual sport. It should be just on the activity, and that the child is having fun to begin with, because a lot of research shows that if you push children too early, they'll just drop out of the sport, and it can be sometimes just to do with different pressures that they have. So really, we'll take an holistic approach to how we deliver, and that it's all activity based. And yes, we provide a multiple choice of sports. We've boxing officers, cricket, athletics, soccer, we've rowing, we've an awful lot of co-funded sports there that do great work through the schools, and really reach those kids that need it. I think the challenge for us going forward will be this, the expectation on delivery, and the needs of the communities wanting to get back doing what they were used to doing. So that'll be a challenge in terms of planning for going forward, and obviously, as we said, not really knowing that we can deliver in the capacity that we would have delivered in. So like, for example, we'll be involved in the European Week of Sport in September, and that's when we would traditionally run our sports fest every year, where we showcase everything that we do, from the staff, the excellent staff that we have on the ground, to the facilities that we have, in a week of showcasing of a week of activity events. Hopefully we'll be still able to do that in some broad way. There'll be a huge focus on the outdoor initiatives. I know that that's what the European Week of Sport is going to be, encouraging people to get out in the outdoors, walking, cycling, water sports, and working with the minority NGBs as well. So trying to tap into those minority NGBs, as Michael said there with the Basketball Ireland, it's great to hear that they might have a co-funded basketball coach in the area. So yeah, we have got a lot planned. We've got an orienteering program, hopefully, that we're going to roll out through the schools, our youth services and families, where they'll be able to freely take part in orienteering in our DCC parks. And we have a mapping project going on at the moment, in different levels, tier 1, 2 and 3, that we hopefully will be able to get our parks mapped. And that will be an inclusive program for all to enjoy and to do in their own free time as well. So we've loads in the pipeline. It's just getting the work done behind the scenes to be able to get back out and deliver.
Trying to unmute there. Aideen, I have a question asking from Andre, asking where can we find out about sports activities run by DCC for children and teenagers in the area? Because I think a lot of people know that there's stuff going on, but how do they find out more about it?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a few different channels of how they can find out. First and foremost, I'd always say to make sure they find out who their local sports development officer is. We've 19 sports development officers plus our co-funded. So actually in total, we've 56 officers operating across the city. The best point I would say is to go straight to the website dublincity.ie, and under the residential there, you'll see the sports and leisure services section, and we're listed as the Dublin City Sports Partnership. You can also obviously find out the information by contacting us through our social media pages on Twitter and Instagram as well, and our Facebook pages too. But if they want to find out through the sports officers where they're located, if they just obviously go to their local area office or just go onto the website, they're all listed there. And that would be the first point I'd say to start off with, is to find out who your local sports officer is in the area, but also to link in with other groups, community groups as well, because our sports officers do a lot of work on the ground with, by networking and engaging with community groups and stakeholders as well. So that's quite important part of the work that we do.
Thank you. Michael, you are the sports manager for Northeast Inner City, and I know you talked about, and to that question I posed to Aideen about children. So I think it comes as no surprise that in this year I've been trying to look at different ways we can look at fighting discrimination and look at integration of the city. How have you found, and with Northeast Inner City is one of the most diverse areas in Ireland, actually. We were just talking about that today in our integration strategy session. And how have you found sports and children and helping them to feel part of the community? How has that worked for you?
Yeah, you're dead right. The Northeast Inner City actually is the most diverse area in Ireland, as far as I'm aware. So I think, yeah, even from the last census, which is amazing. And there's such a mix in the area, and a lot of the new communities have brought such a kind of diverse mix of things going on, like, and have such interest in different sports, and really trying to cater for that. And it's not, as I said, it's not just that one kid that wants to play soccer. There's loads going on. So yeah, look, in terms of how we're kind of catering for that, I know there was kind of there was a number of kind of tensions that have been built up in the area over certain events, but so some of the kind of intercultural stuff that we have going on in the area, we have an upcoming like football tournament which is engaged. We're working with Sports Against Racism Ireland, and we're doing a kind of intercultural football tournament, which is going to be really cool, which is going to have people entering teams from everywhere. There's going to be a Rohingyan team, there's going to be a Pakistani team, there's going to be a team from the Guards, there's going to be a team from the council, there's going to be a team from all sorts. So I'm kind of run off in the Champions League style format over a number of weeks. And look, a football match isn't going to kind of fix any tensions overnight.
No,
but it starts a conversation. It starts a conversation, and that's all we're trying to do. And a lot of that kind of is at the moment is that we've had a number of kind of meetings with some of them. I suppose there's a lot of language schools in the area, and a lot of these guys are particularly a lot of South American communities and African and Asian, to be honest, communities are in the area, and they're going to these schools, and I suppose by very merit of why they're here to learn the language, and by that merit they sometimes have trouble engaging with our services. And I know, like, when I've spoken to some of them, it's actually just they're blown away when they realize what's going on. So, but that puts it back on us, from the inner city and the council, that we need to be kind of making sure our services are multilingual, and people are actually finding out about these things. Because it's such a huge community to tap in there, and everyone wins off this. We have it's a no-brainer. So I think it's I think it's definitely a kind of an area that we're focusing on. Like the kids are so wide to diversity in the area. We actually have a project, not really a sports project at the moment, but we're in the middle of kind of looking at a mural for Mountjoy, and this kind of sparked over the back of the kind of Black Lives Matter thing, and we're kind of interested in kind of doing something a kind of an art piece. I didn't want it to just be an art piece though. Like, so we were kind of saying that we've had a number of kind of diversity workshops where people actually just talk about what being diverse means to them. And this is kids from all different backgrounds. We've been having these Zoom calls kind of fortnightly now for a good while. And kind of there's an artist with us, Fiona Halpin, who's kind of working on kind of different pieces. And the kids say, oh, look, well, diversity means this, and they're adding in this piece to the puzzle. And she goes away and she redraws it. But we're actually looking at kind of at doing that and hopefully doing a kind of lovely piece on Mountjoy Square there. But it's amazing to hear the kids coming through. Like they're so well spoken on this and so kind of open-minded and tolerant. And I think it's just kind of maybe kind of spreading that message kind of throughout the community and having these, because these are the next leaders of the community without a doubt. So it's how we kind of integrate that properly. But that is a challenge and needs to be kind of taken on board by ourselves. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because my mum made sure, well, she pushed me to have soccer, go play for soccer, go to play, go to kickboxing, go to dance, local dance classes, anything possible, because she was worried about how I would fit into the community. And I think for her, that seemed like a good way, because she kind of thought, well, kids do this, so if they all play together, it's fine. And it is that kind of, it's that simple at the end of the day, that kids don't see differences half the time. And when they play together and when they're playing a team sport together, they understand this is the team. So no matter where you come from. And as you say, a lot of it won't fix the tensions overnight, but I'm really glad to hear that there's a lot going on, because there are tensions there, and it's great to hear that there's different ways to try to resolve things and try to make things better. So thanks a million. So.
And just on that, even with Sports Against Racism Ireland, so we're actually bringing them in, and they're running a number of kind of workshops in the area where they actually come in and they're kind of going to be delivering in primary schools anti-racism workshops. But it's not just a man in a white man sitting at the top here at the lecture hall telling them to do this. It's actually like it's girls from all different cultures, girls wearing hijabs, taking them out onto the soccer pitch and explaining what's going on, why they have an interest in football, why it should be a shared experience. So that's one that we kind of. It should be an exciting one. But as I said, like I think it's that generation primary school, they're growing up, they're mixing. I'm not worried about them. It's kind of maybe the older generations that are a bit stuck in their ways that we kind of need to maybe tap into a little bit more, and are going to be a bit more hard to reach. Yeah.
Is there any way to bring them along in true sports as well? And I was wondering, is there any way to, like you talked about multicultural area there, and is there a way to bring sport from various cultures into the area as well, and try to fix things that way as well?
Well, yeah. Like, and if anyone like had any interest, like we support anyone. If you want to make up a sport, we'll support you in setting up that making up sport, whatever you want to call it. But like even like we were talking to the capoeira group. There's a capoeira group now. Didn't even realize, to be honest, they were kind of slowly building, and they were kind of supporting them, and they're going to be running outdoor classes in Liberty Park, I think. And yeah, so like, you know what I mean? And that'll bring, I'm sure that'll be kind of mainly probably South American crew, but there's going to be some Irish in that as well. So like that type of thing, that example of just one type of thing of how you kind of bring them with you. Yeah.
I'm going to bring sword fighting to your local area if you support it. Aideen, tell me about like overall, like we're talking about kind of some of the plans that's happening right now, and we're talking about kind of things lifting in the last couple of days, and sports being able to be back. Like what's the big challenge you see? Is it going to be funding? Is it going to be like support in other areas? What do you think we need more of? So.
Yeah, I just want to, just before I don't want to forget, but just to pick up on Michael Darragh there in terms of the intercultural work that we do, we'll be partnering the UEFA Foundation project. It's got funding. Unfortunately, we're not hosting the Euros, but we're still hopeful to go ahead with a project for funding for youths in new communities, and we'll be engaging with the Northeast Inner City on that project. And also just to say that our cricket officers do an awful lot of work as well around intercultural programs. And we're looking at doing a lot of table tennis during the summer as well. So we also have 2 sports inclusion and integration officers that work for Dublin City Council. So we'll be looking at ways like that to engage and to bring people along. And to be honest, like we do use sport as a tool. We say sport, but it's sport and physical activity, and it is a tool, and it is a way to engage with those children and to bring them along and to educate them and to to instill some sense of ownership in themselves and leadership in themselves as well, that they hopefully in time to come will become leaders in their own community. So just to kind of back up there what Michael was saying. In terms of challenges, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say I don't think personally for the sports funding will be a massive issue, just in terms of how we receive our funding through Sport Ireland. And the reason I say that is because I think there's actually a huge investment after being made in terms of into the national governing bodies of sport and the local sports partnerships. I don't think that necessarily will be a challenge around funding. And I think we've already just announced our grant scheme for our clubs in the city areas. So anybody who's, a club that's operating within Dublin City Council area for young people and doing programs around engagement of young people into their club. There's a fund there available, and we've just received all our applications in for that. And we also issued our COVID-19 support fund as well. So funding wise, I think in one way we're lucky that COVID happened because the investment into sport became bigger. That's not to say that at the higher higher levels for advocacies for sport to keep it going and making sure that funding streams still come through. I think the challenges for us going forward will be how we deliver and what we deliver on, because sometimes our sports officers do fantastic work locally, but they can be pulled from every angle. They really can. And sometimes I think the expectations is an awful lot that they have to go in and deliver the program, which is not necessarily the way, and it's not necessarily the most sustainable way of doing things. So I think one of the challenges for us going forward is to strategically think about how we're going to deliver for the whole of the city. And we're actually coming into the end of our strategy, and we're looking at an interim strategy where we hope to align with the city development plan at the end of 2022. And we thought there'd be no point in us doing our sports strategy, completely out of sync with the city development plan. And so we'll be looking to engage with our stakeholders and our staff around how we do this interim strategy to take us through from the current environment and situation we're in now to hopefully when we come out at the end for a brand new strategy for the city.
And can you tell us, is it okay to share, what do you think some of the top lines? I know you're saying that you will be doing it with the group first, but what are the top line things that you can think of that will be in this interim strategy that would benefit the city?
Well, I think Michael touched a little bit on the spaces. That even if you look at the northeast inner city, access to facilities always seems to come up as a key issue. Yeah. It really does, even though we have the services there, it always seems to come back that access to facilities can be very difficult in different ways for different groups to get into. So that'll be up to us to make sure that we make that as more accessible and more inclusive as we can. I do think mental health is going to be, it's there. It's something that we are going to have to be very mindful of in terms of how we go and deliver it going forward. I also think that there's going to be still a lot around young women in sport and how we keep them in sport as well. It's a hot topic, and I think there's going to be a lot around diversity as well in terms of how we are being a diverse local authority and how we are delivering.
Aideen, you just touched on young women in sport there. Like, we've had some amazing wins by women this year in sport. Like, we have Rachel Blackmore, we have the Irish women's rugby team. But you're right in saying it's hard to keep girls sometimes in sport because they don't see it as I know it's fantastic of me to say it, but they don't see it as an equal playing field sometimes. Mm-hmm. And they see that there's imbalance. Like, how do we keep girls in sport?
Well, I mean, there's a whole section in Sport Ireland for women in sport. Nora Stapleton is the lead on that initiative and that program. And just recently they hosted a girls hackathon. It was open to everyone, males and females, but it was targeted through schools. It was targeted through different youth services that we would get not only the active females, but also the non-active females. And the hackathon would have been based around research that they did in terms of women and girls in sport, reasons why they don't engage, reasons why they drop out. And there's some base facts there that we're probably all, aware of, is, just around school years, study, commitment to doing exams. Other little things around, could be the coach just not, that well educated in terms of how to engage with young girls in sport and to keep them. So the whole, we be connected with Sport Ireland in terms of the women in sport, and actually coming up during the summer, I think it could be August, they're doing a whole initiative for women in the outdoors. So we'll be involved in that and working with the national governing bodies to encourage young girls to get out and just get active. And we also have our Gaga Day, which is Get All Girls Active, that our sports officers do. And I think we're coming up to our 3rd or 4th year this year, and hopefully we'll be able to run that again through our schools, through our youth services. We've got some great programs that come in under that initiative. And it really comes back to providing opportunity, not to be single-minded about that it's sport. It can be any activity. It can be dance, it can be yoga, it can be whatever they want that gets them moving, gets them active. That's what we try to encourage.
Well, in fairness, I forgot to mention the ladies GAA team as well, because they had a brilliant year this year as well. And we had them in the house for a piece, and some of the ladies were just saying once they got into it, it was just the most incredible transformative thing in their life. So I think it's a matter of how to encourage people to get into it and then stay in it as well. So thank you. It sounds like an amazing list there. So thank you so much. And I guess we're gonna start wrapping up the session with one or two last questions. And one of the questions I have, it's a bit more personal one, Michael, Darragh, for yourself, on why did you get into it and what made you kind of stay active in sport? And since you're now doing everything, it seems, from basketball to yoga to the whole lot, like what is it that drives you to it or draws you to it?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I think actually Aideen answered it really well. There is a number of things when you look at the girls, particularly, of why they stay in sport. But for me, when I look back at my experiences, it was all down to my primary skill, really, and my primary skill, that they have such a kind of, and it's one of the reasons I went back to do primary school teacher. I am a primary school teacher by trade, so and that's why I went back, because those teachers had such an impact on me. Like if I get they sold it to me so that if you get your maths done, you get to kick the ball for 20 minutes. Wouldn't that be an amazing experience? And it was taught properly to me, and it was all sports, and it was a big Gaelic football school, but it was a big hurling school, and it was a big basketball school. And one of the things like we did was, like, without thinking, like, I came in at 8:00 every single morning, and I played basketball for an hour, and I went into first class at 9:00 every morning, dripping a sweat. And that was it. But because I was developing all my even coordination skills, and I was able to kind of engage with sport in a kind of proper way, that I had an enjoyable experience with sport, and I kept with it. And then all the other doors opened up, in terms of basketball, in terms of different types of sports. But I think those teachers at such a young age have such an important. And I know as a primary school teacher, and I know if you ask go into primary school teachers, I don't know, I don't want to put out a number, but like maybe 70-80% of teachers, I'd say, probably aren't comfortable teaching PE. And I'd say that's probably a realistic figure. And that is a shame. And they kind of just do the basic thing, or pawn it off, or they're like, oh, maybe we'll miss that PE session, we'll do it next week. And it's so important. So I would definitely bring it back to that. And we're actually doing a big emphasis now at the moment, is like we do have co-funded officers, and I've done it myself, and others have gone in and taught in skills. But I think the big thing we're trying to do now is actually teach the teachers. So like, if any teacher in that whole area wants to get trained up in Gaelic and basketball and handball and anything, like we will put them on that course to do that. And particularly, I think there should be at least one like football expert, and one trained basketball coach, one trained Gaelic football coach, one trained hockey coach in every school, so that someone is comfortable at teaching that. So that's definitely, for me, when I look back at why I got involved in it, why it was it was such a big thing for me, and why I engaged properly with it. Yeah.
It sounds like you're still really happy with it. So you're both one of our few guests that really seem to love your jobs right away. I'm not saying the other ones didn't. I'm not inferring Owen Keegan doesn't love his job, but yeah, you just sound really happy talking about it and talking about what you do. Aideen, what about you? What brought you into it, and like what made you drew you into sports and the role you're in?
Well, I grew up with three brothers. I always think that that's where it stemmed from. My father was into sport, played soccer. My mom was a runner, as you would say back in her day. And yeah, like that, basketball. And I did basketball and Irish dancing and played a few other sports as well. But there always comes a time where you have to choose and pick. It's a strange way. Like when I was doing the Irish dancing, and I was playing basketball all the time down the courts from morning, noon to night with my pals. Um, I don't know. I loved the element of keeping fit. I loved meeting the friends. I loved the social side to it. It just instilled in me, a lot of skills and things that I still carry through into my day-to-day life now at the moment. And I just always loved it. I just always loved sport. I always loved watching it. I always loved playing it. And I mightn't be good at I'm not good at all sports, but I love running. And I do think that I started running by myself when I was working in DCU as a fitness instructor, and I'd be running around blocks and blocks at DCU and my mum would say to me, "Why are you doing it on your own? Get into a club. Get into a club." So I did. I joined a club, and to me, I know it sounds strange, but marathons, and I'm not saying that everyone has to go out and run a marathon, but the challenge, it gives you the motivation on the days that you don't want to go out and run 15 miles. And you do, it's the sense of achievement. It's the sense of that satisfaction that you're pushing yourself to achieve something that you mightn't think is possible. And I just love that. And I love the fact that I can still do it. And I suppose for me, it's about being a role model to my young little boy, Reen, to show him that you need to keep fit, you need to keep healthy for your own mental health and well-being. And that's kind of what motivates me. And then just the joy that you get from some of the programs we do and some of the people and the feedback we get, like the Change for Life program that we do, which is funded by Healthy Ireland. It literally does what it says. Like some of the feedback we got from our participants, there was one lady, Alice, that did our program. Alice went from being very sedentary, a smoker, a very heavy drinker, very little exercise, wasn't happy, no self-confidence, low self-esteem. She did our program, and we ended up using her as a guest speaker in City Hall to talk to all the other women there, to say, this is what I've done, this is how you can change. And I think what I love about it is it's never too late to start. Like, some people are lucky and blessed that they've sport or physical activity within their background, their family history. Some aren't, some don't see it and they don't do it. But I don't think it's ever too late to change. And I think for Alice, then she was fit, she was able to look after her children. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the behavior that some people see sport as hard work. It shouldn't be hard work. Yes, it takes a bit of dedication and commitment, but I think if you set your goals realistically and go along with those goals, you can achieve it. And it does come back to coaches. It comes back to coaches, your role models, how what were you taught when you were growing up? And I think that's why we need to play a role with teachers and the teacher training, and that children really look up to their coaches and they look up to their teachers and their peers and they learn from them. I think everyone who's involved in sport in a competitive way will always go back and talk about the coach they had, and they learn, and the leadership they got from those coaches. So yeah, and I have to say I'm blessed, I'm lucky, I'm in a job that I absolutely love.
Yeah, that's the thing. Both of you sound like it. And to the point Michael Darragh made of teaching the teachers, I think that would be absolutely amazing, because I think if you get a teacher that really loves something and love a sport, you do feel it. You feel it from them, that it's something that it's fun, but also a challenge. I guess that brings us to the last question that Annette has in the question of, do you think the Department of Education should pay should play a bigger role in including sport in the syllabus and ensuring teachers have the ability to provide PE lessons and not necessarily DCC's responsibility. Michael, Darragh, since you talked about teachers that need to be more part of it, do you think the Department of Education should take it on to say, listen, this should be part of the syllabus?
Yeah, like I think it definitely needs to be re-looked at. Like I know that from training as a primary school teacher, I know that I was I know that my peers, most of them weren't confident weren't teaching physical education coming out of that. So look, as a result, all of those kids that are with those teachers who are brilliant teachers in every other field just aren't comfortable in that space. So I think that that has to be kind of done early. I think even Montessori and preschool stuff it needs to be kind of re-looked at. Definitely there's definitely space for improvement there, because it doesn't just come down to the one sporty coach. Like every school has the one sporty coach who does a bit of everything, and that person can only do so much. But if it really comes down that every kid is getting proper physical literacy, and kind of at least being comfortable and engaging properly with the sport, kind of as I said, I think it'll make such a difference. So it's not something that'll happen overnight, but it's something that definitely really needs to be looked at.
Yeah, thank you both. Last question of favorite sport, Aideen, and then Michael, Darragh. Favorite sport?
Oh, I have to go with running. Athletics. Yeah.
What is it?
Athletics.
Athletics. Michael, Darragh, do I need to guess?
You probably do. I think basketball was always ingrained in me from a very, very young age. So shooting hoop and Michael Jordan was all over my kind of bedroom walls as a kid and stuff. So I think I might have to stay there. I even see Michael Jordan on my
and
AirPods
mine
case
actually.
Did you get yourself a pair of Jordans?
Oh, of course, I got myself a pair of Jordans. If you ever see a picture of me as a kid, I'm head to toe in a Jordan tracksuit. And even when I'm playing Gaelic football, I'm wearing basketball shorts and a Jordan cap, actually playing matches up until I was about like 14 or 15. So yeah, no, it was definitely something that I was probably a little obsessive over. And then needless to say, I watched The Last Dance on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, they served you well. Listen, both, thank you so much. And thank you so much for all your work. Seriously, I've had so many people compliment the sport engagement side of things from DCC. So thank you both. And I'll see you both again sometime soon. Hopefully.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.